everyone. You're listening to The Future of Food Is You, a production of the Cherry Bomb Podcast Network. I'm your host, Abena Anim-Somuah, and each week I talk to emerging talents in the food world, and they share what they're up to, as well as their dreams and predictions for what's ahead. As for me, I'm the founder of the Eden Place, a community that's all about gathering people intentionally around food. I love this new generation of chefs, bakers, and creatives making their way in the worlds of food, drink, media, and tech. Today's guest is Dingding Hu. Dingding is a writer, comedian, and an artist known for her bright, beautiful, and sometimes subversive illustrations, many of which feature food. Dingding is also about to be a debut author as her new book, Delicious Daydreams, A Seek and Find for Foodies, is coming out later this month. I'm excited to chat with Dingding about how drawing is a source of peace, finding joy in food, why she's trying her hand at stand-up comedy, and more. The Cherry Bomb Podcast Network has another show I'd love to tell you about. It's called She's My Cherry Pie, and it's all about baking. Each Saturday, host Jessie Sheehan chats with world-class bakers and does a deep dive into their signature baked goods. If you love baking, this is definitely the show for you. It's also a relaxing listen and pairs perfectly with your morning coffee. Listen to She's My Cherry Pie wherever you get your favorite podcasts. One other thing, I would love a rating and a review for The Future of Food Is You. Tell me what you think so far since we're a new podcast, and let me know of any suggestions for future guests. I'd love to know your thoughts, and thank you in advance. Thank you to Kerrygold for supporting The Future of Food Is You. Kerrygold is the iconic Irish brand famous for its rich butter and cheese made in Ireland with milk from grass-fed cows. Let's talk butter first. There's a Kerrygold butter for all of you out there. From soft and spreadable butter in a tub to sticks of salted or unsalted. A perfect measurement option for foolproof cooking. There's a Kerrygold butter blended with olive oil, which is about to become your pantry essential. My go-to is a traditional block of Kerrygold unsalted butter foils. Perfect for baking because of that higher butter fat content and because I can control the amount of salt in the specific recipe. Then there's Kerrygold cheese. The options go way beyond their classic Irish cheddar. There's Kerrygold Blarney cheese, which is a Gouda style. Kerrygold Dubliner, sweet and nutty with a bite similar to aged Parmesan. Kerrygold Skellig, a tangy take on cheddar. And the rich and delicious Kerrygold Cashel Blue farmhouse cheese. For the best cheese board, just accompany these with some grapes, your favorite crackers, and some funky jams for contrasting vibes. You're all set. If you haven't tried Kerrygold yet, don't delay. The future is now. Look for their butter and cheese at your favorite supermarket, specialty grocery store, or cheese shop. Visit KerrygoldUSA.com for recipes and product information. Now, let's check in with today's guest. Dingding, welcome to the Future Food Is You podcast.
I'm so glad to be here.
So you grew up in Sichuan, China?
Yes.
What were some of the vivid food memories you had from growing up there?
Oh my God, it will be a crime if I don't mention hot pot. But I'm so glad to see hot pot is picking up in New York City, like food scenes. So hot pot was like the thing that I grew up. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, and all kinds of spicy food. And I think I really want to highlight that where I grew up, it's like the level, the variety of spicy is like wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's where the Sichuan peppercorn comes from, I'm assuming.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how about cooking with your family? What was some of those memories like?
In my household, it's a little bit different. My parents does not cook as much. My grandma passed away around 1997, so I actually moved in to live with my grandpa since. So I lived with my grandpa for a really long time, probably over 10 years, and my grandpa does most of the cooking. My grandpa's signature dish is this dish called double cooked pork. You actually have to boil the pork first, and then you fry them. So that's why it's called double cooked pork. And it's a signature dish, and my grandpa does it really well.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your biography that you moved to the United States with what you described as 2 suitcases and a dream. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about the motivation to come to the U.S.
I actually got an opportunity back when I was in high school to visit Phoenix, Arizona. It was like a high school exchange program. I don't even know how I just got in. And I came to America with 5 other girls for like a month. I live in Phoenix. And some part of me during that trip just came alive. I had so much fun. Everyone lost weight. I gained so much weight. I was eating all the food. I first time had taco during that trip.
Wow.
Yeah,
Your first taco.
my host mother was Mexican and she made taco for me. I was like, what is that? I was like looking everywhere trying to get some taco skin on my way home. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, the taco shells.
Yeah. And after that, I think I just had this dream I want to go to America, but I didn't go here earlier enough because it's expensive. And also my parents have this plan for me to go to like a really standard university track. They want me to go that. They don't want to take too much risk. But literally like when I was in freshman year in college, I was like, this is a mistake. I want to go back to America. So I ended up eventually came to America for a master's degree. Yeah.
And what did you study for your master's?
It was called Master of Fine Arts in Illustration Practice at Maryland Institute College of Art. When I first went to Arizona, my impression of America was just giant cactus. I was like, that's America.
Yes, just cactuses and flags everywhere you go. So when you came to America, how did you deal with the homesickness? How did you find replacements or things similar to the cooking that your grandfather did from Sichuan?
Yeah, oh my God, it was interesting. I think the first thing I landed, obviously, seeking all the Sichuan food possible in Baltimore. And there was not a lot, but funny how my taste bud is really open-minded. I don't know if that's a thing, so I ended up trying a lot of new food. I got into Korean food because there was a lot of Korean food in Baltimore, and I joined like a wine tasting group by some students from Johns Hopkins. And so for the food homesick, it was not as bad as I thought, but I obviously always want to go back to H Mart. Like every time I get to go to H Mart, because, as a student, we don't have a car. So every time somebody have a car, take us to H Mart, I always like buying way too many groceries. Yeah.
What were your H Mart staples that you like to get?
I like to get a hot pot supply.
Make it at home?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, like the sliced beef and meatballs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And how'd you end up in New York?
I've always wanted to come to New York. I don't know why. I think maybe it's in my program, like subconsciously. Yeah, so after I graduated from my master's degree, I literally just came with no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
I find an apartment, subleasing apartment in Brooklyn. It was a basement. I was like, great. It's all worked out. And I just moved in.
Let's talk a little bit more about your relationship to drawing and food. So what inspired you to start drawing food after you got your MFA?
So I did a thesis project in my MFA, like after a bunch of exercise of soul searching. And my MFA was actually all about food character. I made a story about this Kiwi character, and he was trying to find friends and navigating like a relationship.
That's so adorable.
It was like dumb in regards of like finding a job after you graduate, but it was really my soul. So I need to learn how to draw people, but I just always have a connection to food. I was like, that's the first thing I want to draw. I learned about this kind of exercise called a 100-day project. I was just basically advised that you should just find a topic that you can always do and then do it 100 days. I was like, food. That's the easiest choice because I want to keep my creative juice flow while I was looking for jobs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What were some of the things that you drew in these 100 days?
Food disclosure, I didn't finish the 100-day.
Just
life. For anyone who's trying it, it's hard. I remember I was actually started to putting a lot of creativity in it. I didn't even realize. I thought I was just going to draw dishes, but then I was like drawing a pizza and put Monday on the pizza, and then I was drawing like a pan and there was like a number in it. I was just like unconsciously just putting a lot of play of design into those food. So that's where it come from originally.
When did you know that drawing food specifically could become a profession? Was there a moment that you had?
I still don't know. I hope so. Yeah. I was just always on the side. I was developing this word of mine because at the very beginning, I think a lot of the job I got was not directly related to food because there's only so many food media. I developed my own brand called Who is Hungry. It was a stationery brand. It still is, but it was like a long journey of figuring out. So I think I always have this creative outlet from that 100-day project. Later on, I just launched this Who is Hungry stationery gift line. I also had no idea what I was doing, but just excuse for creating a body of work of my own that's all focused on food. So I had that always going on while doing other jobs and drawing normal things.
That's really exciting. So what are your favorite food things to draw?
I think at this point, I'm really into pastry. Yeah, because I think, is it a show called Cake Boss?
Yes, there is a show called Cake Boss.
Yeah, any of the baking show, because I feel like that's something so close to art. And every time I get to draw a cake, I feel like I'm analyzing the structure. I'm like building something. So that's like really exciting for me. Yeah.
Is there a particular cake that you like drawing? Are you more of a tiered cake person, flour cakes? What's your...
In the book that I made in the past 2 years, Delicious Daydreams, I focused on all different themes. And there was one page that was based on Alice in Wonderland. So it was like a tea party. I had this like giant Pinterest board of like all kinds of tea dessert that you can put together. And that was like a really exciting moment for me. I guess it's more about finding what are all the category out there and actually drawing them. Because one thing about actually drawing food, especially when they're all in the same category, is that you really get to understand the structure. Where does the flour go? And where is the dough? And where is the bottom? And where is the cheese?
Yeah. How would you describe your illustration style?
I think it's very free. It's very busy. And it's very loud and vibrant and bubbly.
Which artists do you think help inspire your illustration style?
There's a few, and they're not necessarily illustrator. So the first one is this lady. She lives in New Mexico, and she draws this giant flower that mimic ladybirds.
I think that's Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yes. I got a postcard from her at MoMA, and I was like, what is this? This is, like, fascinating.
Yeah,
and another one is this guy. You always see his giant painting of cakes in museums.
Yes,
Do you know that
I think that's Wayne Thibault.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a visual person, so, like, I don't write down names. I'm just, like, cake guy, flower lady. Wayne, he does all the cakes, and I know he also does landscapes. It's like you look at cake and you also see landscape, and you look at flower, you also see women, and that kind of stuff is just fascinating to me.
Yeah, so there's a metaphor in the work that they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I'm sure being an artist is an incredibly lonely role. You know, you are mostly focused on creating your own unique element, but how have you found community with other artists?
It is definitely a lonely journey, and I actually find podcast is a really good way for artists who we just like work at home alone. That's the norm, but our mind is free while our hands are busy. So I listen to a lot of different podcasts over the years, and I think one of them is On Being. There's always like really interesting. I like to listen to things that are relatively deep and like out of this world, and I also listen to a lot of audiobooks. There's this book, Big Magic. I'm sure a lot of people like it. I just listen to that kind of stuff, and while I'm working, and it just brings me to this dreamland. It just took me a little bit out of this mundane world, and I just got into my zone.
Can you tell us a little bit about Big Magic?
Yes. Big Magic is a book by Elizabeth Gilbert. She's also the author of Eat, Pray, Love. And in that book, she basically describes idea as these forms of almost like a little spirit in mind perspective, and they will visit you. And when you receive them, you're supposed to really create a space to welcome them in. And it's like being friends with them, and then they will help you to further develop. It's like you're guided while you're creating. And she even gave this crazy, amazing example where she had this idea, and then she couldn't handle it at that time because a lot of life was happening, and in this interaction between she and another author, and the idea actually jumped to the other author.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, so I was like, ideas are alive.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a magical inspiration or magical realism associated with them. That's really cool. So you've done some incredible work for clients like Google, Instagram, and the Department of Transportation. Can you tell us about a favorite project that you've worked on?
Yeah. So the Google project was literally shortly after I got out of school. It was a sticker series for an app. Back then it's called Google Allo. It's like a chatting app, and I was assigned to draw this thing called Drama Llama. And my assignment, I think the art director saw the kiwi that I drew that I talked to you earlier. I'm always really emotional. I'm all about the feels. So the Drama Llama was just like a llama who is in lavender color. I guess there's a little bit magical. They pick that color eventually among all other options. And I kind of documented a lot of the emotion I was going through during that life period. That project meant so much to me because there was this literally one llama. She was like crying in like a tear, so tired crying. I was like, yep, I remember that time when I was in my early 20s and I actually got people from Google Engineer actually email me. I really like that. I use that when I was at work. I use your stickers. Yeah, that means a lot. And for the project for Instagram happened back in 2021. And I guess it's like a highlight of my career because Instagram, it's like
everyone's on it.
The place.
It's the place to be for artists, for anyone, any creative really.
But that was also like such an emotional project for me because that was like a weird time when there was a lot of hate crime going on. In a weird way, I think through that project, I find a little bit of my voice because my job was to highlight the Asian American and the Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I was just really asked my soul. I was like, what should I do? I feel like I don't know if I'm good enough to represent everyone, but I ended up just decided to draw this big scene of Japanese, Korean, Chinese, and Hawaiian, this whole big group of people and all the cuisine. My husband was helping me research all the cuisine of all the different regions. And we find a lot of relationship between. Yeah, it was really interesting. So that was a big moment where I realized, wow, there's something about food that I was not even paying attention. It's about food is like connecting all those people together. And it's also like, we should be so proud being Asian American and Pacific Islander because the food culture in this region is so rich.
What were commonalities that you knew about, and then what were commonalities that you were surprised by?
Definitely, there's always a fried rice.
Amen to that, yeah.
Yeah, and definitely the more we went to Hawaii and you see more fish, and the fried rice include pineapple, or it might be put inside of pineapple. And I think there was something about shaved ice, and that one thing was present across different Asian culture, which was really interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought shaved ice was like an exclusively Hawaiian thing, but I guess it's in Japanese culture as well.
It's very Chinese.
Oh, okay.
I would just go to malls and there's always this shaved ice, and we put a lot of like beans and like
the red bean
ice creams.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for any beginners who are passionate about food and want to use drawing as a medium to be able to express that passion or that creativity?
I think when I was just started drawing food, I definitely felt a little bit superficial. I don't know what I was doing. I was like, why am I just drawing what I ate every day? I don't know what's the point, but I just kept going. I want to emphasize that your artistic language has power, and give it time, be patient, it will come out. I think everyone, especially artists, creative people, we have our unique point of view. I think drawing is very similar to writing, and I think we have the superpower to show a perspective of food that people would not recognize otherwise by just eating them every day. And I think really dive into that area of your brain other than just trying to think about getting into a magazine, get a job, or just give it time to grow, to blossom.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I feel like AI is something that we hear about every day in the news.
Oh my God.
And as an artist and as an illustrator, I'm sure it's probably come top of mind recently just because of, you know, Midjourney and Lensei and all these apps that have given people a chance to express their creativity or their artistic needs through technology when maybe drawing isn't something that they typically do. How are you feeling right now about illustration as it's intersecting with AI and how society is responding to it?
I'm excited.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like personally, I think we all have a skill. And I feel what AI have, just AI mastered the technique. But the technique is just something on the surface. And I think it's great somebody gets to do it because I was trying something myself. There's this app called Notion. I was like trying to write an article in Notion the other day. I was just typing, I was like, how to cook tomato. And it was like showing me how to do that. I was like,
Notion did that?
Yeah.
Notion has an AI feature.
Yeah, they had it's new. It's brand new.
Wow, that's really exciting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Go try it.
Sure.
See what it cooks.
Yeah.
So I thought it was so interesting. I would say, like, let's not freak out about AI because AI just, at the end of the day, master a technique. And I think technique is something we can all master, and it's always going to be fun. But somehow, every individual person, I think the biggest difference between us and AI is that we have our soul.
Amen.
We are a person, and we have our point of view. You know, I like the concept of making a cocktail. You're the only one who can make your unique cocktail, your own mixology. Yeah, there's all kinds of things. Maybe like in the future, AI can do part of the rendering for you, but you're the only one who can say, okay, I'm going to put food and people together. I'm going to draw a cake and it's going to turn into a landscape. Flower is going to represent women. AI have no idea about that.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
really powerful. But are you worried about AI? Because I know recently a lot of artists have been complaining that a lot of these, platforms have been taking their work and not necessarily giving them credit. So let's say it's a particular style that they have or a distinct style they have.
Yeah.
Do you worry that AI won't allow artists to feel like their work is truly credited for? Because I also feel like that's something that we struggle a lot with in our societies. It's like we love creativity, but oftentimes when it comes to celebrating it and giving it its due, we sometimes tend to struggle. And you see that a lot with artists feeling like people are stealing their ideas or people are copying them.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I definitely have thought about it. I have this unique style where I draw people in the environment of food. And ironically, I see them pop up on Pinterest. I don't even know why, but I was like, hey, maybe I was on the right track when I saw the repeating, but I don't have in-person experience where somebody literally copied something of mine. I bet that's painful. But my point of view, when I see more people are doing like a similar style, I was identify as my own is, ironically, I made this book, Delicious Daydreams. It's 18 pages, completely filled up with me. And was like, you can't copy this. I was like, there's too much. I spent 2 years on this. I guess maybe the answer is just, if something you really identify as yourself, just do a lot of them. No one can copy completely you. Just put all of you out there and they can't copy everything. At one point, they're going to give up.
Yeah.
They can copy one piece. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, they say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, so maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your book. It's called Delicious Daydreams, Seek and Hide book for foodies. Can you tell us a little bit about it and the inspiration behind the book?
I think it was literally inspired by the cherry bomb community.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, because it was like almost like unconscious. When I was pitching the book, it was during the pandemic, and an editor called Dana from Chronicle Book reached out to me, asked me if I have an idea. And I gone through different iteration, and I should share this. So 2020 was like a weird time.
For many of us.
Yes, but for me, it hit me earlier. My grandpa passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and he was the biggest inspiration for me as a person. And speaking of emotional roller coaster, I went like all the way down. I went really down. It was really scary. And around the same time, and my birthday was like March 2020. It was like 3 years ago. It was so crazy. I cried so much during that time, crying about him not being there anymore, and I cried about what's going on with the world.
Yeah,
and
that's a heavy thing to hold in your heart.
Yeah, and my husband works in the food industry. He was laid off. One day I had this dream about my grandpa. I don't understand, but he was just hosting a party for me. It was about food gathering. It was about this long, infinite table with me and everyone I know. I still have the memory. It's so vivid. I was just sitting there. I was just looking around, and I just see everyone I know there, and I just see all the delicious food on the table. I was like, oh my God. I was like so excited. And my husband woke me up by accident because he needs to use the bathroom at 7 a.m. So I never get to eat. I still resent him for that.
The dream will come back again soon.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, but that dream is a book. That dream is a book because I was like, I got it. I was like, the book is going to cut Happy Birthday, and I'm just going to draw about how I'm going to go all over the place, get dinner gatherings. It's called Happy Birthday. But after that, all the restaurants closed up. And the editor was like, we don't know if the idea of doing a book about go to restaurants is exactly the best idea because we don't know where that's going. And I was so inspired by Cherry Bomb because Cherry Bomb was like this community of women and food. I think there's something so unique about women and food. I'm married to someone who's in the food industry. I'm so familiar with what's going on. And I feel like there's a lot of masculine energy in the industry. But food is supposed to be not the kitchen from hell. It's about the love from a mother.
Yes.
And so I decided to take a risk. I was like, this book is all about women. This book is all about women and food. And Cherry Bomb did it. I can do it too. So that was like the initial inspiration for the book.
How are you hoping readers will feel after engaging with the book?
Thank you for the question because I've been thinking about too. My gut feeling, which is very terrifying for myself.
Yeah, it's the first book. I'm sure there's a lot of nerves.
This book, it's so fun. It's called Delicious Daydreams. And I always know this notion, it's almost a little bit spiritual. It's like you always should honor your daydream. But one thing really important is that you need to turn your daydream into a reality. First of all, I want people to look at the book, remember that little child inside of them, because this book is all about imagination and food. Remember that little child inside of them. Remember how food made them feel. And I want to bring this book to real life. I wanted to actually host all those parties that I dream about. Like I researched on Alice Tea Party. I researched on what it is like to be a botanic garden. I dream about all kinds of gatherings.
Yeah.
And I want to bring them to real life.
Can you tell us about one page in the book that you want to bring to life?
Yeah, the Alice in Wonderland Tea Party. There was this old Alice in Wonderland at a Disney cartoon, and that cartoon is just like my heart. There was this thing of drinking different potion and then just go to like different wonderlands. So I think directly I was just thinking, what if we have a tea party and we all come in and we all dress in costume? I think I actually noted in my book proposal of like costume of each chapter. So the tea party, we'll all wear a spring skirt, and then we're all gonna dressed for tea party, and we're gonna bring our own home baked goods. Maybe it's a potluck, and
I love that.
Yeah, and we're gonna make herbal teas because I'm like really fascinated by the word of herbal tea, and I was just like, let's just gather together, eat all those like magical dessert that made by different people, drink tea, and talk about ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Well, I hope that dream comes true soon. Is there one person that you admire that you would love to have receive a copy of the book?
There was this comedian. Her name is Eliza Schlesinger.
Schlesinger.
Apologize if I got it wrong. She got a copy already.
That's amazing.
And I'm still like trying to feel okay about it. I did an illustration for Eater, and it was written by her husband.
Whoa.
It was like such a coincidence, and it was on the theme of fall down into a rabbit hole. His name is Noah. He was like researching on chicken stock, and the editor, Rebecca, she was literally saying, hey, do it in the Alice in Wonderland style. I was like, perfect, that's right in my alley. And I did it, and he really loved it. And we just got connected, and then he had a book come out. He really wanted a copy of me drawing him, so I sent him a book. I had no expectation. And then he shared it with Eliza, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, she is such a creative muse of mine. It just blew my mind. I'm still like really nervous.
For those who are listening, Dingding refers to Noah as in Chef Noah Gallatin, who's a James Beard Award-nominated cookbook author and co-host of the popular daily live stream cooking show Don't Panic Pantry. Who do you want the other person to be?
I just say it out, Katy Perry.
Oh my gosh, that would make so much sense. I think of her California Girls like music video.
Yes. I wrote California Girl like in my book pitch. I was just like imagining California Girl meet Adventure Time Princess Bubblegum.
That is a very colorful, magical, big splash experience. I still think about that music video, like when she's the cotton candy and like the whipped cream and all that.
Do you know she dressed as a burger at Met Gala?
Yes, I think I saw that too.
So I have a page in my book that was about a Met Gala, and everyone was in food costume.
Can you tell us some of the costumes that you drew up?
I drew the burger costume. I drew Serena Williams.
Yes.
Not exactly her, but I drew her wearing sneaker because I was like, oh, that's badass. And I drew Lady Gaga. I turned her umbrella into a pancake.
That's so cool. And what Met Gala was this? 2019? 2018?
I researched all the Met Gala throughout history, and I was just like looking at their outfit because I was like, what if gowns are all food inspired? That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I put a chocolate fountain in the Met Gala because it's like,
wow,
make it fancy.
If anyone at the Costume Institute is listening to this, we have a Met Gala theme for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Food and fashion.
Right?
Yeah, it could be perfect.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your podcast, but it's a virtual dinner party. How did that come about?
So the podcast name is Honey Gone Nuts. It was come from a bag of granola. It's literally like I was eating it another day and I was going through, I'm sure anyone can relate, like I was going nuts. And I was like reading the granola, it's like, honey gone nuts. So it's like, honey and nuts. And I was like, that's really funny. And I don't feel as crazy as I used to be. I always have this notion of when you're cooking, you need to break an egg and you need to break some other things. You need to break something in order to cook. I was like, oh, maybe when honey gone nuts, it's just you become something else. It's a transformation. That cooking, it's a transformation. So that was like my aha moment. And to make it as a virtual dinner party, obviously the goal is to have real life dinner party. But I had the podcast. It's going to be dinner party because I just love to go out with people over food. I always have a blast. As an immigrant, I don't have too much places to take people. I'm just like, I know this spot, I know this restaurant, you want to go with me? I know that place. I don't know any other cool places. I just know restaurants. And so
those are very cool places, yeah.
Thank you. And I just feel like when we're eating together, we bring out the best of each other. The media has so much misconception about Asian community in a way that I just feel like it's a little bit sad. Like they make Asian a little bit sad sometimes. Not even Asian. I just feel like they make a lot of people a little more sad than they are actually is. Because while all those hate crime was going on, I know a lot of people in real life, they're very happy. They're like so grateful for life. And I'm so grateful. Like I have a green card now and I'm so happy to be alive and live in this country. And I have so much more gratitude instead of hate what's not right. There's things that are not right, but I have so much gratitude. I don't know how to bring that out there. I don't know too much about pitching to media and all that game.
So you started your own.
Exactly. I was like, have my own platform and I just invite people that I know that are artists and I know they love food. Yeah. And I just talk to them about their favorite childhood dish. I also ask some of them their last meal and we just talk about what we like to eat. I just enjoy hanging out with people.
Who's your podcast for?
I think it is for people, creative spirit that are burned out. That feeling like they're going nuts, they're overworked, they're overthinking, or maybe they're procrastinating. Yeah, because I see a lot of that going on in people who are emotional driven. Just know that your emotion is not a bad thing. It's your superpower. You just need to learn how to ride the wave. Instead of going crazy by ourselves at home, why don't we just come together and eat? And let's talk about what's going on.
Yeah. Let's transition into your stand-up comedy. So you perform stand-up, which is incredible. That exudes so much confidence.
Thank you.
Why did you start doing that?
Thank you for the question. I know I do a lot of different things. I started doing that last year, exactly a year ago. I think I watched this Disney movie, Turning Red.
Loved that movie. Yeah.
I cried so much.
Yes, I'm Canadian, so I feel like I relate to it, not just on the mother-daughter relationship, but also on that pretty important point. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I was the main character myself. It was actually really triggering. I actually did an art piece for Disney for Instagram. Yeah.
For Turning Red?
Yeah, I made
That's amazing.
Yeah, I made an Instagram poster, but
wow.
the side effect is that I have to watch that movie before it came out, and it was on Chinese New Year.
Oh.
And we just talk about emotion, no eating, and my husband did take me out for Chinese food afterwards, but I was just like, I need to talk. The emotion is getting so strong. I'm not okay anymore. I can't just suppress this anymore. It's like there gotta be something. And I always loved comedy, but I actually don't know what's stand-up comedy. My husband is like a comedy nerd. He's like, there's this thing called stand-up comedy. You should check it out. And I was like, wow. I was like, people talk for a living. I was like, that's insane. I was like, I talk all the time. I can talk. And I just signed up for a class. And I don't know what I was doing. And then the first day in class, I remember I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm a badass. But long story short, I did a show because of class. I graduated from the show. I did a performance at Gotham Comedy Club.
That's huge.
Yeah, that everyone gets to do it. Like,
no, but that's still pretty big to even get to go there.
Yeah, but I've never felt so happy in my life.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this part of me. I love this so much. And when I performed, there was this other comedian. His name is Jim Gaffigan.
No big deal. Yeah, he's a pretty big deal. Yeah.
He wrote a book called Food, A Love Story.
He's got some good skits on donuts and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have that book in my backpack that day. He showed up. I don't know why. I might be a manifester.
You sure are.
Yeah. And then he showed up after my set. I went over time. The producer was so angry at me. I was almost want to throw me off stage because I went over time. And then after I went off stage and they said, welcome to stage, Jim Gaffigan. I was like, what?
So you opened for Jim Gaffigan?
Yeah. Thank you. And
wow.
I'm still scared to say that because in the comedy industry, a lot of people did that because Jim Gaffigan works so hard. He's always showing up at comedy clubs. So a lot of people have that opportunity. So when I told that to a fellow comedian, he's like, oh, everyone did that. I was like, sure. But I was like, he's really special for me.
You can still have that. Well, where can we see you perform if we want to?
I'm very beginner, but I will always share on my Instagram if I get to do another show and I get to invite people. Like I'm currently in the phase of when they have a big group of people, I get to sign up. It's like, can I have a set? That kind of thing. But I will put it on my Instagram whenever I got an opportunity. And I have this wild dream that I wanted to do a little book lunch party down the road to book a little room and just gather my friend to come to listen to my comedy. And I think I might invite other female comic too. Speaking of which, I do notice this thing that, hey, like not only female in food and female in comedy is a thing and it's going strong. Mm-hmm. Because one thing about doing comedy is like you see all those dudes doing comedy. No offense, but they talk a lot about things that they care about. You know what I'm talking about? And sometimes it's boring. But I see a lot of women, they're talking about such interesting topic and they have so much talent. There was this open mic, it's called the Unladylike Comedy. They do this open mic at Stand Up New York every Sunday, and I go there. And it's only women is allowed to go on the stage. And it's always a party. It's always like, wow, look at all those women being up there, share their opinion.
Yeah.
It's so great, yeah.
That's so exciting. Yeah, I mean, I feel like both industries are worth disrupting, getting more diverse, and I think there's so much work that's getting done in there.
Exactly.
Dingding, we're going to do something here at the Future of Food Is You podcast. We have our Future Flash 5. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. The future of restaurants.
Inclusive, homecoming.
The future of food art.
Expressive, diverse.
The future of illustrations.
Out of the box.
The future of comedy.
Women.
The future of artist communities.
Support over competition.
Dingding, thank you so much for joining us here today. If we want to continue to support you and find out about your work, where can we do that?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on my website. Everything is there. Is Who is Hungry, Who as H-U. And I'm also on Instagram at Who is Hungry.
Amazing. And for your book, when is it coming out and where can we get details on how to pre-order or buy the copies?
Sure. It is going to come out on March 21st. It's really funny. It's like 3, 2, 1, out.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Before we go, our guest is going to leave a voicemail at the Future of Food mailbox, just talking to themselves 10 years from now. You have reached the Future of Food as You mailbox. Please leave your message after the beep.
Hey girl, you're turning 44. Happy early birthday. Do you remember when you were 33 and you were freaking out about everything? And you were freaking out about becoming a comedian, finishing a book, and start a whole new chapter of your career? Look at you now. Everything worked out. Ever since Delicious Daydreams came out, you throw your first dinner party, everything fall into places. And you learned about love. You are truly in love with yourself. You love everyone around you. And you have cultivated a life and community that you have your heart in it. And look at that little garden you have. By the way, congrats on that TV show. You wrote all about dinner parties. Happy birthday. And know that you've always got it in you. Love you.
That's it for today's show. Do you know someone who you think is the future of food? Tell us about them. Nominate them at the link in our show notes or leave us a rating and a review and tell me about them in the review. I can't wait to read more about them. Thanks to Kerrygold for sponsoring the show. Visit kerrygoldusa.com for more. The Future of Food is You is a production of the Cherry Bomb Podcast Network. Thanks to the team at CityVox Studios, executive producers Carrie Diamond and Catherine Baker, and associate producer Jenna Sadhu. Catch you on the Future Flip!